Welcome everyone to my AMA for November 30, 2023. Had about 30 people sign up for this, and I got about 8 different questions in here, and I've been able to kind of roll through these pretty good lately, so hopefully what we'll do is we'll open up to open questions towards the end. I kind of like that little bit balance of people that submit the questions, and then I can open it up to open questions. The way that this works, I have a new setup as I talked about earlier before I started recording here, but I have a new setup that allows me to show everybody, so I can show the Zoom gallery and we have everybody there. And if someone wants a question or anything like that, if they just raise your hand using Zoom. When you raise your hand using Zoom, what I get is a little, I have a list of everybody, and what I'm able to do is easily see who has raised their hand. Like Ward has raised his hand, and Louise, yep, and George. It's all working. But so I can just easily filter that down and see, let's see here, there we go. There. So right now my list shows nobody is raising their hand, so I know that I don't have to answer any questions. So I think it'll make it a little bit easier, with that kind of thing. So just raise your hand. I am going to mute everybody right now. We'll get going with that. So and if you need to ask a question or whatever, just unmute yourself. Like I say, I run a pretty loose operation here. Seems to work well, so just interrupt me. And all right, that's it. So everyone knows who I am, so I'm going to skip the little intro of Dan at Dan's Tutorials, although I will be putting this on YouTube, so I'll just do a 20-second little thing. I'm Dan from Dan's Tutorials. I create video tutorials and these AMAs and all that on how to use Apple software. You can find all the information over at danstutorials.com, as well as my most recent videos are on YouTube. If you like what you see, check out my membership options. It's a small business. It's just me. And so you're really helping out a small business, and it helps support me doing this. When you do become a member, all the videos on my site do not have any ads in them, so you don't have to be annoyed with those YouTube ads. So that's the benefit of becoming a member, among other things. So outside of that, let's get going with our first question. So I'm going to put it back on me here. And our first question here is, how much info, this comes from Carol, and how much info is transmitted when she's curious when she uses a QR code? And basically none. There's not any information, because there's not, a QR code is basically just a graphic representation of a website, a URL. Well, that URL, because it's outside of your computer and all of the tracking and all of that kind of stuff, there's really nothing there that it is tracking outside of, you go to that website and then the Safari might tell that website that where your location is or anything like that. But in all honesty, there's not any tracking information typically that is embedded in there. Now, not saying that they can't, because it is just a URL, but that tracking information that they put in there would have to be generic enough, and it's not tied to you, because I could go to that QR code, scan it, and then George could go to that QR code, scan it. That thing is not going to know the difference between me and George. So there's no personal information is tied to a QR code. Maybe I should put it that way. So in all honesty, it's probably the safest way to browse the web, because there is no tracking or anything like that. Now, once you go to that site, and then you go to other sites, that's when things start breaking down and all the tracking starts happening. But you're not going to have any tracking from the QR code itself. So, all right. Is Carol here? Did I see her? No. All right. So let's go on to our next question. The next question is, how can I reduce space on my MacBook? And this comes from Carol as well. And we'll just go over to my MacBook here. And I'll show you a few different things that you can do. The first thing is, these days it gets kind of confusing because we have iCloud and then we also have our storage on our Mac. And with the Mac, our documents, our desktop is stored in iCloud. So is it actually being stored on the Mac? Is it not being stored on the Mac? So it gets a little bit murky there. So the first thing that you need to do is find out if you're using iCloud Desktop and Documents to store your folders, to store those folders. If you are, and the way that you can find that out is just by going to the System Settings, and then we go over to iCloud, and we go over to iCloud Drive, and you're going to see that my desktop and documents are on. If you don't want your desktop and documents to be stored in the cloud, all you have to do is turn this off, and then all of a sudden your Mac will turn into more of what I would call a traditional storage. Everything is local on your hard drive. When you're using this little feature, everything is not stored locally on your hard drive. So how can you find out what is going on? Well, basically, when you go over to your system settings, I'm using Mac OS Sonoma, you're going to see an option, I believe it's under General, you're going to see Storage here. And when you go to Storage, what the Mac will do is kind of analyze what is going on. So you're going to see that I have, it took a few seconds there, but you're going to see that I'm using this is a 256 gigabyte hard drive, and I'm using 200 gigabyte out of it. And you do want to have about 20%. So I'm getting right close to the edge of where the Mac is going to be comfortable. If I got to 220 gigabyte, I could possibly start running into problems, but I'm pretty good right now. So if you are full, let's just say I did want to optimize this a little bit. What can I do? Well, the first thing you can do is you can turn on your empty trash automatically. So then it'll empty the trash. A lot of times you put stuff in the trash and you don't empty it. Another thing you can do is go to your downloads folder. I know my downloads folder gets to be very large because I never prune it. Go to your downloads folder and delete the stuff that you don't need. In most cases, once you download it, either you move it to your documents or you move it to your application, move it to wherever you're going, so you no longer need it, or anything that is in your downloads folder you no longer need to have. So you could prune out your downloads folder. You're also going to see that it tells you how much space different things are taking. Now this can be very valuable. So I have my applications here. I have 36 gigabytes. Do I really need to have, all these apps that are taking up that space? If I wanted to prune this down, I just click on the eye, and then I can see what each individual app is taking, and I can sort it by size. And you're going to see that Luminar Neo is taking up 6 gigabytes and Final Cut Pro is taking up 5. If I didn't use those on this computer, I could just go and delete them. I just go and click on them and delete it. So the first thing is just kind of see what's taking up all your space. In my case, most of my space is taken up with my applications. So yours might be in a different order here. When you go over to Documents, again, click on the eye and you're going to be able to see which documents are taking up the most space. And we can see I have here demo videos. That's Final Cut Pro Library. And that is taking up 12 gigabytes. So I could, if I'm not using that Final Cut Pro Library, I could just go and delete that. And right there, I've just cleared up between those two things, a good 20 gigabyte, over 20. I have some large movies in here, and you can see it sorted by downloads, as I mentioned earlier. Unsupported apps, so if you have a document that you no longer have the app for, you can go in here and take a look at any documents and delete them. And then you also can just go to the file browser, and what this will do is this will just allow you to browse it. So you can see that my pictures folder is taking up 12 gigabytes. So I can click on there, and then I can go and go through those. So you basically just need to go through this little list here and see what is taking up most of your space. iCloud Drive, this is the one that can get a little tricky. So back on the iCloud Drive, you're going to see that we have here optimized storage. With optimized storage, if you're using the documents and desktop little trick there to store all of your files. What this will do is when you're running out of space on your Mac, it'll remove the file from your Mac and then just keep it in iCloud. So it's not taking up any space on your Mac, it's taking up space in iCloud. But it doesn't actually delete it. So let's go ahead and close this and take a closer look at this. You're going to see when I'm looking at my documents here, I have these little indicators here. Basically what this is telling me is anything with the little cloud and the arrow pointing down, that is in iCloud, but it is not on my Mac. So my Mac has deemed that I have not used these in a while. It looks at how often you've opened it or when the last time you opened it, something along that line. It has some algorithm. And if you haven't opened it in a while, it'll just take it off of your Mac. Now, it doesn't actually remove it. What I can do is I can go in here and download these. You're going to see that when I click on the cloud here, it will download it. And now that file, and you see the cloud is no longer there, that file, those folders and files are now on my Mac taking up space. These are not, but I can easily click on the cloud to download them. So it's actually really nice, and you can go the opposite. Let's say I no longer want to have this cat here. It's taking up a lot of space. You can control click on it and you're going to see remove download. So if I remove this download, it's not going to delete it. It's just going to remove that download. And now we can see we have the little cloud there, and it kind of indicates that they're on my Mac, but they're not taking up any space. And it will do this all automatic. Now this works great if your computer is on a network. If you take it to a coffee shop or whatever, because it can download as needed, upload, remove them as needed. Works great. It doesn't work so good if you are not on a network. Because if I was not on a network, I would not be able to download any of these because it has to grab them from iCloud. So that may be one reason why you don't want to use this. I would dare say probably, in my case, I think it's a great feature. I cannot believe that I'm able to do this is a MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, the cheapest one because I got it for a demo computer. And I'm running Final Cut Pro on it, and 256 gigabyte, and the thing is just running fine. It just goes and manages that. When I create a video, what I'm able to do is go into iCloud and go to the videos, because all the stuff on my big computer is stored in iCloud, and I can go and download what I need, put it into Final Cut Pro, do my little thing, and then put it back. It really works great. But of course, I'm always on a network. So that would be the only catch that I could see. But basically what you want to do to manage your space is, I would say just go over to that system settings under general and then go to storage. And then you'll be able to just kind of go through and step through what is taking up all of your space to minimize that. All right. All right, let's go to the next question here. Oh, I see Ward has a question. What do you got, Ward? Can't hear you. You're muted.
I was wondering if you might mention Omni Disk Sweeper, the free app from the Omni Group.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm going to go to their website. I haven't used that in a long time. I forgot about it, but yes, it's a good app. So there are different apps out there that can help you with this. So let's go to Omni Disk. So what this
Omni Group.
Yeah, I'm just Google searching it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Hopefully it'll take me to Omni Group. Which Omni Group is, they've been around for a long time, and they make some great apps out there. So Omni Disk Sweeper is, so what Apple has, their little storage thing that I showed you earlier works great. It's built into the Mac. But when you go to a third party, such as Clean My Mac also has something like this, you get a little bit better, granule tweaks that you can use, and it'll find different things. And so if you use something like Omni Disk Sweeper, and it is free, basically what you're going to be able to do, let's just go ahead and download it. And we're going to fly by the seat of my pants here. We're going to install it. Drag it over to my applications. So now I'm just going to add another application. Why not, right? And then we go over here to Omni Disk Sweeper. Open. Yes, it needs access to everything. So here we can see that I have another drive. Well, actually, it's just the Omni Disk Sweeper. So what you're going to be able to do with this is sweep multiple drives. So if you have external drives on there. So that's already one plus over top of Apple's built-in system. So now what I do is I just go over here to Mac, and right now it is sweeping it. So it's going to take a while, but it's just basically going through and taking a look. I have to give it permission to access all my folders. But basically what it's doing is it's going through and looking at all of my information, all of my documents and all that. So you can see here, my set app is 9.4 gigabyte. Sure. But basically what it's doing is it's just kind of going through, and if I want to delete anyone, I just click on the trash. So it basically does one thing, but it does a really nice job with it. So that's Omni Sweeper. And that's free. Just search for Omni Sweeper, and again, it's from Omni Group. They make Omni Focus. They make a lot of great apps, and they were with Next. I think they developed apps for the Next computer before it became Mac OS 10. So,
Yep.
All right. Any other questions on that? All right. I see Gary.
Kind of a silly question. If
Yeah.
everything resides in the cloud, which we know it does, if I take my laptop and go down to a park bench and do a little bit of work where I'm not hooked up to a network, when I arrive back home or go somewhere else where I can sign on to Wi-Fi, do these files automatically then go up to the
Yes.
iCloud as long as I have it turned on?
Correct. Yep.
Oh.
You just make sure that you have them. When if you remember, I went here. If you know you're going to be working on something, let's say I'm going to be working on this EPUB class, make sure you go and download these before you go to that park bench and work on it. But after that, yes, it'll go and upload them. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Let's go on to our next question. The next question is, what do you think of Tim? Oh, this is not from Mike. This is, oh yeah, Mike asked me. Mike, is he here?
I forgot my question. The one about the watch.
Oh,
You
no,
just-
you're in there. Yeah, I got your question. It's
Okay.
coming up. Yep. So Mike just, he asks these a little more bigger picture kind of thing. And so I thought about it. And in my opinion, I think he's doing a good job. He's not, don't get me wrong, you can't compare him to Steve Jobs. And I think that there are definitely certain parts that are missing. He's a processes guy, and he's got that thing fine, Apple down to a fine-tuned machine, but he's not artistic at all. And I think that's where Steve Jobs, kind of came in. So I think he's doing a good job. I think he's doing a really good job, and I probably wouldn't want to have anyone else in there doing that. But I do think that some things are kind of slipping through the cracks. I follow on Threads, there's an old Apple designer, and he talks about how he designed different things with Steve Jobs. And it's just, they would just meticulate over every little pixel. And I'm not saying that they don't do that now, but, things are kind of a mess, I think, a little bit, with all the different devices. And I wonder where it would be if we had somebody like Steve Jobs. I've always liked Scott Forstall. I know he was forced out with the maps, but I think he had a little bit of that artistic. I think that artistic mindset is good for a company. If you start going all down the logistics side of it, you lose the culture of it. Which luckily with Tim Cook that hasn't happened. They still have a good moral compass. They set up this education thing for all of their employees, and I think it's doing really, really well. And I wouldn't want to have anybody else in there right now that would. But I do like Scott Forstall. I think he had a good eye. And I've said it before. Johnny Ive, he had his day, and I think that with Johnny Ive, and this is my opinion, but it's kind of like the Disney. They had the two people before Bob Iger. I can't think of his name. One of them died in a skiing accident, but the two of them worked off of each other. And one of them died in the skiing accident. He was the CEO. He was the money guy. And then all of a sudden, Disney just started. You lose your place. And I think that's how I feel with Johnny Ive. When they went to that whole flat thing, now you're starting to see a little bit of the 3D stuff come back, and I'm happy to see that. And I think muse, I guess you would call it, where Johnny Ive needed that muse, and Steve Jobs was his muse. So we'll see where it goes. But I'm happy with Tim Cook, and what he's doing. I think he's doing a good job. So, all right, let's go with, is there a significant difference between the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 15 Pro Max? So Roger is getting a new phone, and let's just go and take a look. Basically, you're looking at the camera. That's probably the big thing. I mean, it has a faster chip in it and things like that. But let's go over here. And when I go up to iPhone here, what I'm going to be able to do is compare. It's a great tool. And basically, I'm assuming, Roger, that you're talking about the iPhone 14 Pro Max compared to the iPhone 15 Pro Max?
Correct.
Okay. So basically with this, what we're able to do is, compare them. And you're going to see there's really not a whole lot of difference. Right down here, everything's the same there. And we keep going up. We have titanium on the 15, so it's going to be a little bit lighter. I do have the 15, but my demo phone that I use is a 14. I don't see too much of a difference. It has a little more rounded corner, so it is a little bit easier on the hand, but I don't use a case. If you use a case, that won't really matter to you because the case is what you're going to be feeling. Do you use a case at all?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that won't matter. The titanium and the rounded corner edges doesn't really mean anything. Mm-hmm. My mic is a little over-modulating. Oh, I was doing this the other day. Hold on a minute, Roger. Let me take a quick look at this. Input, and let's go here, and we will see if, let me know if that is, let me know if that's better. How about that? So if you keep going up here, and they both have the dynamic island. One has the A17 Pro chip, so it's a little faster than the A16. But in my mind, I don't know. I don't notice a difference. I'm not a gamer or anything like that, so to me that doesn't mean that much. But here's where you're going to get a little bit of a difference, the camera. So the new one can take 24 megapixel photos. You can with the old one, with the 14, but it's a little bit more difficult. They kind of have it built in as a standard, so you're going to get a higher resolution, first of all, higher resolution photos. Then on top of that, what it has is, where's the, 5 times zoom, optical zoom. So it's not digital. So you do get a little bit better zoom. The 14 has a 3 times zoom, so you are going to be able to zoom in just a little bit better. But outside of that, you're going to see that 29 hours. USB-C compared to Lightning, it's probably more cable management kind of thing. So, but that's about it. The only difference, really, it came down to the camera.
Okay, so you've experienced then the 14 and 15
Yeah.
both.
I have them sitting two of them, one, yep, right in front of me here.
That was my hope that somebody in either yourself or somebody in the audience would be able to speak to that. Because when it comes to, you can save a couple, $300 maybe on sticking with the 14
Right.
instead of the 15. But okay, thank you.
All right. George, I see you have your hand
Yeah,
up.
I got a question about that. Since you have the 14 and the 15, did you notice any difference in the wireless charging? Because I noticed that when I went from a 10 to the 15, that there is definitely all the things that I had that could charge wireless, I can't use on my 15.
Really?
But they worked fine on my 10, but they're very attitudinal when it comes to charging my 15. And I actually went to the device, the mag charger. Well, now let me ask that question: are all your chargers MagSafe chargers?
I have one MagSafe charger. The other one, I do have two, but one of them's in my car, and that didn't work with the.
Yeah, those
12.
won't work with the.
Yeah,
Okay.
just because
Yeah,
the phone just got too big for it. So I have one and it works fine, although I'd say it works. They must have changed the position of where it is. I don't know, but when I look at this, what I have to do is I have to make sure that I have it just right. I never had to do that with the 14. But with this one, I do need to just nudge it over just a little bit. When I wake up in the morning, sometimes this guy is not charged.
Okay, maybe that's what
So
it
I
is,
wonder
but-
if they moved where the charger is.
Right. Yeah, because it seems like a lot of people are having the same kind of issue that I'm having.
Yeah.
And there's a thread in the support community, and they're like, stop putting it here and start calling.
Yep. And that's basically, I just have to nudge it over, and all of a sudden I feel that haptic. I'm like, okay, now it's going to charge. But it's taken me a while to train myself to do that, because normally you just put it on there and it worked. 14 just charged. This one, just a little bit. So yeah, maybe there must be a difference. So yeah, Peter.
When you buy a phone or get your phones from a Verizon or AT&T or Best Buy, is it any different than the phone you buy directly from Apple?
No.
They don't add anything onto it, or
They don't add anything onto it. You can find different phones that have different carrier, like they have unlocked phones, but for the most part, they are. No, I have bought them from Verizon. I've bought them from Apple. I try to buy them from Apple if I can, but no, I've bought them from AT&T, Verizon, because I used to be on AT&T for a little bit. No
okay,
difference.
thanks.
There used to be. Like you had to buy an AT&T iPhone to be on the AT&T network, and then it wouldn't work on the Verizon. But that was years ago. Now they're pretty much all cross-platform.
Okay. Yep.
All right. The next question I have: how do you log into iCloud on the Apple Watch? So this comes from Tom, and is Tom here? See him. So basically with this, what you're going to want to do, let's see if this is connected. Yep, good. What you need to do is, Tom, if you watch this later, I'm pretty sure Tom would know this, but go to the Watch app. It's basically the only way you can do it. And then when you swipe up, I think it's under General. Yeah. So it's under General here, and then under General you're going to see Apple ID, and that's where you sign in. So you do this all through the Watch app on the iPhone. All right. Let's see here. I want to make sure I know I have your question in here, Deborah, so we'll see. We'll keep going. All right. Next one is from Mike. And he wants to make his songs in his Apple Music library accessible to his wife on all of her devices. So I did a little bit of researching on this, and it seems basically what you need to do is you need to have family sharing for Apple Music in order to share it with other Apple users. You could have her sign in to your account. That's what I looked at to see if you can sign into your music account only, like with the App Store. What you are able to do, let's go over to my iPhone here, and you are able to go to the App Store, and you're going to see I can sign in under a different account. Now, I have a Sandbox account in here, but basically you are able to sign in, so then you can, all the purchases will come from one account, but everything else is still separated out into this here. But Apple Music doesn't have that same option. That's the first thing I looked for. I thought, well, maybe they could just sign in under the one account for Apple Music. So basically, the only way that you can really do it, unless you want to share an Apple ID, and I highly I don't do it. I'll just say don't do that. You'll run into more problems. Not worth it. But what you can do is you can get a family account with your Apple ID, and then what you're able to do is share your music. So that's basically how you would do it. Set up a family account. I know they have different tiers, but it's going to be a little bit more money. And then from here, like if you go to my mother here, it's not music. How about Beth? Subscriptions. So Beth has access to my Apple Music here. Actually, she'll have her own Apple Music, but she has access to Apple Music. But that's basically the only way that you can do that, as far as I know, from what I read. So, anyone have any other ideas for that? Has anyone figured out a trick for that? Peter?
Did you say don't ever sign into each other's iPhones,
I say
iPads
I
with
say
each other
don't share an Apple ID.
on a different phone, or each
yeah.
other's phones? Okay.
Yeah, have your
All right.
own Apple ID for each device, or for
Okay.
yeah, not each device. Each person should have their own Apple ID. Because the problem that you run into that is it shares your contacts, your calendars, your reminders, and all of a sudden you're going to have all of her stuff, or she's going to have all of your stuff, and you can't separate that out. It's a nightmare,
Okay.
So I think the big reason why people were doing that in the past was so that they could share photos. Well, now they have a shared library, so you don't necessarily have to do that. You can actually share your library with other people. So now you no longer even have, you don't have to do that. But that was the big thing. So, all right. Is my mic still overmodulating, Barry?
Yeah, a little bit on
A
mine.
little bit.
All right. Let's go on, and I'll kind of tinker with this as we go on. I really don't. Well, here. It's one thing. Let me try this. Don't want to really mess around with things as I'm automatically. That's good. I'll turn that down a little bit. We'll see what happens here. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next question. Can you open a docx and an Excel? Basically, these are Microsoft Word documents and Excel documents. Can you open them in Numbers? And yes, you can. They will absolutely open them up. Now, if they're heavily formatted, you might have a little bit of a problem with that, but Numbers will tell you, and Pages will tell you. So it doesn't. Here, let's do this. Search for. Do I have an XLS file? How about a doc? Should have prepared this a little. There we go. Okay, so I have some docx files here. So this was written in Microsoft Word. So what I'm able to do is just double click on this. I do not have Microsoft Word on my computer, so by default what this is going to do is this is going to open with Pages. If you have Microsoft Word and you want to open up in Pages, then what you can do is you can just go control click on it to get this open with, and then just select Pages. Now when I open this up, you're going to see that it's going to open up, but I'm going to get a little alert, and if the fonts didn't carry over, so I say it gets you like 80 to 90% there. It is not 100%, doesn't do it perfectly 100%. Looks like I got no errors on this, but I can already tell, this font is not the font that it was written in. But you can see it did a pretty good job with this. I mean, this isn't a complicated document. Let's see if I have one that's a little more complicated. Membership economy. Let's try that one. Another document. And yeah, columns carried over. So yeah, I mean, it will do it. I would definitely go through the document and make sure everything's all good. Now, what it does is it does convert it into a Pages document. So if you wanted to open this up in Word again, you're not going to be able to. But what you can do is export this out as a Word document. So the file format is not native to both. Numbers, Pages, Keynote can open up PowerPoint, Excel, Microsoft Word. But when it does open them, it converts it into its respective file format. If you want to open it back up into Microsoft's apps, you have to go and export them. They all have this export. And then it'll export it out. And again, what I would recommend doing is making sure that all of your, just go through and make sure everything's all good. It's not going to be 100% perfect conversion. It does a pretty good job. It does a really good job, just not perfect. So, yeah, Peter.
So the reason I asked that, when I bought my new MacBook Air, I was using Office 2011, and I never bought an updated version of Word or Office or anything like that. So now I'm getting a message from Clean My Mac that it wants me to uninstall all of that old Microsoft PowerPoint. So I can safely do that because I'm not using it.
Yeah, and I didn't mention this. When you do open it up, you still have the original. I believe it does make a duplicate of it. So let's go and save this. And you're going to see it's asking me to save it. So I will have the original still in there. But, what you can do is just try a couple of them, make sure it opens up, which I'm pretty sure it will. I'm not, that's going back pretty far, but they haven't changed their format for this. So I think you're going to be safe. But just try a couple of them and see if it works.
Because it's saying it's a 32-bit software.
No, right. You won't be able to open up in Word. You'll be able to open up the document in Pages.
Okay,
though.
that's what I need.
Yep.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah. George?
I just want to bring up one thing. There's a huge difference between numbers and Excel. So there's a lot of functionality that Excel has that numbers don't, and the numbers will never have.
Right.
So you may not want to uninstall Excel.
Well, you can't run Excel, but here's what you can do. So yes, George, that's a very good point. Excel has, Visual Basic right there. But yeah, all kinds of stuff. Numbers is a very basic spreadsheet. But what you can do is you can open them up. You can create a Microsoft account online, and you can access Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, the latest versions, 365, for free, as long as you do it online. So you do not need to download. If you want to download their apps and have native apps, then what you have to do is you have to pay Microsoft. But if you don't want to pay Microsoft and you don't get into Excel and all that too much, and like George said, you need to open it up because it did not convert it properly, you can go to Microsoft 365. And sign up for the free version. And there it is. It's all online, but you can do it. So.
All right. Thank you, but
Yep.
I don't do anything complicated in my life
Okay.
anymore anyway.
Okay. Yeah, Phil. Oh, you're muted.
Okay, I'm good then. I
Okay.
don't do any big spreadsheets, and I don't care to open them anymore anyway.
Right.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be
Just a
fine.
comment,
Yeah, go,
just
Phil.
a comment. You can also use the free LibreOffice suite, which works great with Microsoft documents.
Okay.
That's a good alternative, although I prefer to use the Pages, but occasionally I've used
You have to go.
LibreOffice.
Okay. And that's been around for a while. LibreOffice has. So.
Yeah, and there's also OpenOffice, but LibreOffice seems to have a better bunch of programmers working on it. They keep it pretty smooth, pretty updated. So
So yeah, there's
that's
another
a good thing to have on your computer just as a backup.
backup. Okay, so there you go. You can do that as well. So, thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
All right, your hand is still up, Peter.
Oops.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. All right. Let's go to our next question and get out of that so that don't have that there. All right. It says open questions, but Deborah has a question on the Apple Watch, and I remember that, so I don't know why it's not in here. So you want to know how you can show the Apple Watch.
Yes, when you share screen, usually, you know, if I share my phone or I share my Mac screen or whatever, you had shown when you were showing your Apple Watch, you had a series, I don't remember what series, but anything over a 6, you said that you could share the watch on Zoom.
Well, yes. So here's how. Yes, you can. So here's how it works. What you need to do is share your iPhone with Zoom. That's the first thing, because what you're going to be doing is sharing your watch with your iPhone. So first thing we need to do is share the iPhone. So I'm going to share my iPhone here, and there's my iPhone. Now what I'm going to do is connect this watch to it. And the way that you do that is I just press in on the side button. Oops, wrong phone. Press in on the side button. I did create a shortcut for you. You're going to see I actually have a shortcut here called Show Apple Watch. So I don't have to triple click that side button. But basically, it's triple click 1, 2, 3, and there it is. So this is what you'll see when you share via Zoom. And hopefully my watch will come up there. It says connecting. This is what you'll run into, and sometimes you have to do this a couple times. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3. Should go. Is it because I have Do Not Disturb on? There we go. Maybe I had Do Not Disturb on, so that wouldn't do it. So there it is, and that's how you basically how you can share it. So anything that I do on my Apple Watch now, if you're going to see it reflects off of that. So that's how you can do it. Now I take it a step further, just because my software allows me to do it, and what I can do is put an overlay in there, and then I get that. Although it looks a little bit off there, but that's a little different. But yeah, that's basically all you have to do. So what I did is I created a shortcut, and I'll show you how to do that because it's really, really simple. Familiar with Shortcuts, the app? Okay. So what I'm going to do is open up the Shortcuts app, and I'll just recreate it. So I just went up to the plus here at the very top. And I need to add an action. Well, my action is going to be, I want it to start my Apple Watch. So I tap on action and I just search for watch. Because there's a lot of different options here, as you can see. So Keep swiping up, ping my phone, there's somewhere in here. I didn't see it in there. Get my watch face, set watch face, set torch, set always on, ping my phone, cinema mode. It's in here, obviously. Let's go to that shortcut and open it up. Start Apple Watch remote screen. So it is, oh, it must be on a setting. So I'm going to try it again here. So we're just going to go, the action is start. There it is. I don't know why I didn't find it when I searched for Apple Watch before, but that's what I need to do. So I just basically tap on that, and that's all there is to it. That's the only step that I need for this shortcut to work. So then I'll just go up to the top here, and when I do, I can name it, choose an icon, add it to my home screen, and there's, I bypassed all of it, but basically I tap on that new shortcut. You're going to see it's going to go right into there. A little bit easier than triple clicking, because what I found, if I have it down here and then I got to hold it in my hand and, and then it goes this way. And so the little button there makes it a little bit easier. So just create a shortcut, just one step. So, all right. Okay. It's time now for open questions. Anyone have any questions on anything? All right, let's see, Louise, then we'll get to you, George.
Hi, I just got a new watch. Never had Apple Watch before, and it has the passcode, and it just pops up very frequently, even though after I enter it. So I'm curious to see if there's any way we can lengthen the time for me to instead of like every 30 seconds, can I lengthen the time like 3 minutes, and then I'll enter my passcode again? Because it's very annoying.
This is on the Apple Watch is asking for a passcode?
Yeah. Or can I disable that?
Well, it shouldn't be, as long as it's on your wrist, it should only ask for it one time. I don't recommend disabling it, because anybody can put it on their wrist at that point. You're not going to be able to use Apple Pay or anything like that. But you only have to enter that passcode in when you first put it on your wrist. So I'm curious why it keeps, do you have it, well, even if pretty loose, it still shouldn't be asking for that passcode. Anyone have any ideas on that? Let's go into my settings here, and we'll take a look at passcode. So let's go to my phone here. And we go to watch. And so I'm just going to go to passcode here. There isn't anything like what you're talking about. But one thing you can do is you can turn on unlock with iPhone. So then when you unlock your iPhone, let's say you get a call, or you're checking news or checking your email or anything like that. Anytime that you unlock your iPhone, it will also unlock your Apple Watch. But like I said, I'm curious, you should not be having to type in that code unless you take it off your wrist. I have to type in that code once a day when I take it off my wrist to charge it. That's the only time. So, there we go. So yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't be doing that, but go into the watch settings and check that unlock with iPhone and see if that helps out a little bit. But it shouldn't be doing that. If you have what I would recommend at that point is, if you have an Apple store near you, just kind of go in there and see if they can. It sounds like something, because it should not be doing that. So, no, I don't. I don't know too many people that do them. My brother, that was his biggest fear when he says that he could buy a watch and a week later he's one of these people, there's a scratch on it. Not an Apple Watch, any kind of back before. So he was very concerned when he first had his Apple Watch. He's had one now, I don't know, 5 years, however, longer than that. And he still is amazed. He doesn't scratch it. So that's very, very tough glass. Of course, I'm not going to scrape it against cement or anything like that, but it's very tough. So I think you'll be. Yeah, I think that's where you're going to run into is all the sensitivity issues and all that. So I don't find them necessary. I don't know too many people that have them. So yeah, George.
You got to do this. I was like, really? I was like, let me ask here at this group. But I was just like, because what I did is I like dance tutorial. I had that announced at 5 minutes till, so I don't miss you, Dan. And I was like, well, wait a minute. It'd be nice if I put all this stuff into, and have I have these HomePod minis. Why not have them do something?
Right. So I'll show you what I find here, but I don't use my HomePod mini. In fact, I just plugged it in. It's been unplugged for the last couple months. I'm a Sonos fan.
Shame on you.
I know. Well, if they came out with better quality speakers, I mean, it's good for what it is, but give me a subwoofer. Give me all that stuff. Come on.
Ouch.
But if I go to the settings in the iPhone here, and we go to, where did I find that? Was it under, then we go to Siri and search. And I don't know if this will help, George, but when I go here, we do have Siri responses. And, I mean, it does have the spoken responses up here. So I don't know
but I'm talking about like at a certain time, like dance tutorial in 5 minutes. Like at 4:55.
Announce your
to remind me of something.
Announce your reminders.
Or like I said,
Just ask it to set an alarm.
Will an alarm do that?
But I don't think. Well, see, that's the one nice thing. It like on the A-Lady.
I'm going to see if I can find my, under hubs. Yeah. I don't know, and I'm trying to, you set up the HomePod through the Home app. Does anyone have any ideas on that? And you have it in. Yeah, I found the settings here, and we'll just take a quick look here. Have you looked through this on in the home app? Right. Yeah, I don't.
Two or three events that you have upcoming for today.
Well, because I got them to sync, I just asked the A lady because when I ask her, she does. When you ask the S lady, she has attitude.
Yes, me and the S lady. I just said it today. Yesterday. We're not on a good communication level.
Right. See? Okay, so it's not just me.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
That's because she knows you're not using the HomePod.
It could be. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. All right.
She's going, I see a Sonos in the room, Dan. Well, what's going on?
Yeah. All right, Louise, I see your hand is up. Or maybe it's still up from the last question. You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll put it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Dale.
Hi. I use an external drive to back up with the Time Machine on a laptop. And I only do it like once a week because I don't use it for much of anything. Can my wife use the same external drive to back hers up? And it just would differentiate?
I don't think you can anymore. You used to be able to do that. But what it wants to do when you tell it to use it for a Time Machine, I think this started a couple years ago, it erases everything. So you could put it on your wife's computer and it'll say, oh, you want to use this for Time Machine? I need to reformat it. And it just erases all of your stuff. So I think that was maybe 2 years ago I've started seeing that. So
Lucky I didn't do that without asking, I guess.
well, I mean, it would have asked you, it would have told you, but yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Deborah? Oh,
I just had a thought. I just had a quick thought for Louise. If she's wearing her watch very loosely, some people wear it like a bracelet and very loose, and then it's not making connections with her wrist enough. That's why maybe it's asking her to put in her passcode a lot, just as a thought.
Yeah, no, you're right. Could be doing that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, just make it a little bit tighter and just see if that helps. I don't know if it's going to help comfortable-wise, but at least it'll help narrow down what the issue is. So.
Good suggestion. Thanks.
If your arm starts looking like Popeye, then it's too tight. But there's lots of different. This is just a note to new Apple Watch users. There's so many different types of Apple Watch bands.
Oh yeah.
Parties. But I mean, even just the Apple's most expensive, but from sport loops to clasps to, I mean, the market is just massive, and you can find these on Amazon. And after you try out a couple of them, you'll find one that's really comfortable and probably fits very snug.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, Barry.
I just want to reiterate what you said a little earlier. That was don't share your Apple ID.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the biggest problems that I've run into in the senior market, because the kids are giving the parents a nice piece of equipment, and then this way they can take care of all the passwords and things like that. It's one of the worst things you can do for the parent, because they get completely confused when there's an update that comes in, etc. There's a lot of things by sharing that Apple ID that prevents them from being a little bit independent. So I just think it's a really bad idea also. And I've run into it where they have no clue what's going on.
Right.
And I can't really help.
And Barry helps people out. He holds what would you say? Like you'll teach like 20 or 30 people on a regular basis on this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's run into this a few different times. So thanks, Barry.
Yes, one of the scariest things you can hear from a senior when you ask them for their Apple ID and they say, "What's that?"
Yes. All right, Ward.
I just had a thought about sharing a time machine external drive,
Okay.
and that might be to partition the drive so that there are two volume names and one person uses one volume and the other person uses the other.
Yep, that would work. So try that. You can do that in disk utility. I don't have a second hard drive hooked up to my computer, so I can't show you, but I'm pretty sure Dale knows how to do that, right, Dale?
I do, but I actually have an external drive on my iMac that has a partition on it, and when you go to settings, it doesn't list the two partitions. It just has the main drive.
What you want to do, we saw this the other week. Let me go to my Mac here. And when you go to disk utility, by default, it hides that. So you're going to see I have all these different drives in here, but that's because I have it set to show all devices. If you go show only volumes, usually you won't see all of that stuff. But you should be able to just click on it here. Let's see if I won't be able to partition, but I won't partition this, but this is my main drive here. I just go to partition, and you just go and select what you want to. I don't have enough space. This is my main drive anyway, but you should be able to just select it and partition it. And if you have enough space on there, it doesn't have to erase the drive. Of course, you're partitioning it, so make sure that there's nothing on there that you can't absolutely lose. You probably won't, but make sure that there's nothing on there. Otherwise, there's a chance that you could lose it.
I think what I was saying, though, was that if you go to the time machine and and you say back up, and it asks you, where you want it to back up, the partition drive doesn't show up in that. It just shows main drive.
I wonder because it'll reformat it if it recognizes it as DOS. It should. I would think that would work, but maybe Time Machine is smart enough to know that? I would think that would work, though.
Shows up on mine.
All right, there we go. Yeah. So
interesting.
Must be something with that way it's formatted, so Time Machine can't see it, is my guess. So.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. We are at just over an hour. Let's, where's my, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Let's call that a wrap. So I never did my snow thing. I'll do that next week. So I got to.
You mentioned that there's updates out today?
No, but I saw, yes. So there's updates out tonight or today. Do you know what those updates are, Steve?
Just the main ones, iPhone, iPad, and
Mac.
Sonoma on the Mac.
Okay.
So far. Hey, it's snowing.
There we go. Little holiday spirit for you there. You can even put some lights around. Hopefully they'll show up. You can do it.
Speaking of which, I was going to share this during the multimedia SIG, but have you seen the, what's it called? Fuzzy something, but it's a promo clip, 4 minutes long, about a female stop animation artist. And she creates this little movie that's kind of mirroring her own life. At least that's how the plot is. And the whole thing is set to George Harrison's song, Isn't It a Pity? And it's a very moving clip. It's surprising. I mean, it's holiday-ish and very moving, but Should take a look at that if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I know GM came out with a neat ad with Alzheimer's. My father passed away from Alzheimer's, so that was very touching. And then I saw another ad out there. Oh, Apple has an ad that just came out. I didn't quite get it at first, but it's this girl talking to like this monster, or it's out in the woods, and he's reading a story, this
Oh yeah,
creature.
the live voice.
Yeah, but basically it's her dad, not to do a spoiler alert, but at the very end you find out her dad can't speak, lost his voice, but he's using the iPhone to read in his own voice, because you can do that with iOS 17. You teach it your voice, takes about 15-20 minutes, and then it'll speak in your own voice. So
Watch
touching
that today.
Yeah, I think it might have come out today.
Yeah, it might have just come out today too. But I didn't know that was actually her father.
Yeah.
In the clip.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
but that's the idea behind it. He's reading her a bedtime story through the iPhone
Cool.
in his own voice.
But they would have had to have done that before he passed.
Yes, or before he didn't pass. He was there. He just can't speak, so he had to have done that before he lost his voice.
Lost his speech.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the iPhone actually had that capability.
Came out in
Oh, wow.
iOS 17.
You go through about a 15-20 minute setup sequence, and then I believe you have to leave it overnight because it actually processes your voice offline, and your voice is stored on device only.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think you're right, Steve.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is. I can't play. I can't wait to get. I'm driving somewhere. I can't wait to get back home so I can play with that.
Dan, you remember Roger Ebert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and how he, what he died of?
Yes.
Was it throat cancer?
Yes,
Oh,
throat
yeah,
or mouth,
face.
jaw or something, but
Yep.
he was an Apple user, and in the last few years of his life, he would literally use a MacBook Air to be his voice by typing in stuff or having it pre-typed or whatever, but then hooked up the speaker. So if he's on stage, he could answer questions, but by typing or so forth. I mean, he would have loved this feature.
Oh yeah, I'm looking for it. So, so George, when you go home tonight, here it is on my phone. Covered in a little bit of snow, but you're going to see here. It's under accessibility, and it's called personal voice, and that's basically it. I thought I created a personal voice, but this is a new phone, so I have to recreate it. Otherwise, I would have tried it. But yeah, it's an accessibility option. All right. Yeah, so let's call that a wrap. And next week, I'm going to be talking a little bit about reminders, calendar, and I use an app called Good Task that kind of puts them all together. So more of a productivity kind of thing. And then the following week, I'm taking off. I'll be down at Disney with my sister. And then next week, I think I'll be back for an AMA holiday, kind of thing. And yeah. So thanks, everyone. Yeah, go for it.